Good evening, friends. The subject of my talk this evening is what is peace. The word peace is present in different religions. In Hinduism, it is called Shanti. And in Judaism, it is called Shalom. And Islam means peace. So, this word is there in different religions. You may wonder why. I will gradually explain to you why. This world, according to Hindu philosophers, is a world of pairs of opposites. If there is darkness, there should be light. If you don't know one, you don't know the other. We have a very large educational center which is there in India near Calcutta. It is in a place called Narendrapur near Calcutta. It runs many educational institutions, colleges and all. And one of them is a blind boys' school, blind boys' academy. At that time I was at the headquarters of our order, which is in Belur Math, very near Calcutta. For some reason I had to go to this center of our order, which is in Narendrapur. The name also was given by our order. Narendra was the pre-monastic name of Swami Vivekananda. That's why that place became Narendrapur. Anyway, so I visited that for some reason. And then there I met the principal of the blind boys' school. I had heard that he was born blind, but he was very meritorious. So through the Braille method and all this, he eventually got, I think he got the last degree that he got was master's degree. And then he was made the principal of the blind boys' school in that educational institution which is in Narendrapur. It so happened that I could talk to this gentleman who was born blind and was the principal of the blind boys' school. I asked him, "Do you know what we mean by light?" He said, "Yes, I know." "Do you know what is darkness?" He said, "Yes, I know." I said, "How do you know? Do you see light?" And he said, "No, I don't see light. But I have read that they are opposite of each other." So then I thought that they must be like cold water and hot water. So, darkness and light. He was not even aware of what is darkness. Had he been aware of darkness, he would be aware of light also. Sometimes we see some people who are born blind and we think, poor souls, they cannot see. They're in perpetual darkness. But those people who are born blind, they don't even know what is darkness. Isn't it interesting? So, if one can go beyond a pair of opposites, then that person becomes free from those things. In Hinduism, the word peace or shanti is also called anandam. Anandam means, in English it is translated as bliss. It is not just simple joy, because joy is the opposite of sorrow. They form a pair of opposites. But anandam is beyond is beyond joy and its opposite. How is it? Let me explain with an analogy. Let us suppose there is a person who is suffering from an intense headache. So he is in a state of suffering now. Then he takes one painkiller, and after 1 hour his headache is gone. He is not suffering anymore from headache. But is he enjoying now? No, he is neither enjoying nor suffering. He has relief from suffering, we say. Relief is something which is neither suffering nor enjoyment. It is something like that. Shanti or anandam is like that. It is beyond the pairs of opposites. And in peace, which is also called shanti and anandam in Hinduism, is no other than divinity. So, what is this? How peace or anandam becomes divinity? Well, to explain that, I have to tell you some other things. That is the owner and the object owned cannot be the same. I own my body, such the owner I must be different from my body. I own my senses, so I have to be different from my senses. I am not my senses. I have my ability, strength in the body. I own that strength, so I cannot be that strength, physical strength. In the same way, I own my mind. Can I be my mind? No, I cannot be my mind because I own my mind. But something has happened since my very birth, so to say. The idea of my individual existence is a conscious thought of my mind. And what is that? I or ego. It is purely mental. So if as I am the owner of my mind, can I be my mind? No, I can never be my mind. So I cannot be my ego either. So if it is possible to go beyond ego, then there is something which is divinity. We are all divine, whether we know it or not. That's why the scriptures teach us. The highest teaching of Hinduism and also the highest teaching of Christianity is that we are divine, divinity itself. Be perfect as the Father in heaven is perfect. Jesus Christ taught. He echoed what we have in our scriptures. Aham Brahmasmi, I am divinity. Sarvam Khalyudam Brahma, everything is divinity. And divinity is beyond time, space, and causation. Beyond time, space, and causation. That's what we really are. There is only one divinity, without a second. As we identify with our minds, we think that we are different from other things and other people. But truly speaking, we are divinity. When we can go beyond the ego, then that experience comes, divinity. Who experiences it? There is no ego to experience it. It is avang manasogocharam, our scriptures say. It cannot be described through words, it cannot be known by ordinary minds. This is a very high thought. This divinity is also called Anandam. As our scriptures say, that divinity is Satchit Anandam. Divinity is real existence, it is real consciousness, and it is also Anandam, unending bliss, not joy. It's something beyond joy. It takes time to grasp all these ideas. Let me count down a few steps. Then tell you that peace or anandam is beyond suffering. According to Hinduism, there are three kinds of suffering. One is called adhyatmika suffering. That means that suffering which pertains to the body-mind complex. And the other one is adhibhautika suffering. That suffering is caused by other creatures other than you. So you are the sufferer. It could be animals, it could be human beings. Such suffering is called adhibhautika suffering. And then the third kind of suffering is called adhidaivika suffering. And what is adhidaivika suffering? A great cyclone, a thunderbolt, all these things, a severe earthquake. People say that these are acts of God. Human beings do not, or other animals don't create them. So that is adhidaivika suffering. So is it possible for us to stop adhidaivika suffering? It doesn't seem to be that way. Adhibhautika suffering, partially we can mitigate it. Other people are causing suffering, so they can be subdued. Other animals are trying to give us suffering, and we can subdue those animals or kill those animals. But adhidaivika suffering, it is beyond our scope to eliminate it. But our scriptures say that if one can get rid of one's adhyatmika suffering, that is suffering that is caused by his body-mind complex, if somehow he can get rid of that, then the other two kinds of suffering will also go away. That means to enjoy all those, to experience all those sufferings, that because sufferings, a person needs his or her mind. If that mind is transcended somehow, then that suffering is gone. So, if this adhyatmika suffering can be made to the extent made can, if one can eliminate somehow this suffering, then the other two kinds of suffering will also be gone. Because to experience those sufferings, one needs one's mind, isn't it? So one should learn how to transform one's mind into a super mind. And such a mind is called the pure mind. Pure mind. What is pure mind? A mind which is totally unselfish is a pure mind. Selfishness is caused by the ego. That's why Sri Ramakrishna, a divine incarnation, whose picture you are seeing, his picture is behind me. He used to say, replace your I with thou. That means God. I am divine. Anyway, this is just the method. It may take many years for a person to become unselfish. Gradually one should try to get rid of selfishness. And when a person will be totally unselfish, then that person has become divinity. Selfishness comes from the ego that is gone. So going beyond the ego, if it is, when that is possible, then what will exist is anandam or peace. That's why in Hindu scriptures there are many prayers. Some of them are called Vedic prayers. Most of those prayers end with the word Shanti, peace. That means remembering God. Tat Tamasi, your divinity. Your divinity, that is the highest teaching that is there in Hinduism. But to experience that divinity, one has to learn to be totally unselfish. There are different methods given there. One is the method where devotion is used. Devotion, one goes on thinking of God all the time. And that's how the person's mind changes. It becomes totally unselfish. And there is also another method, the path of rational inquiry. That is called Jnana Yoga. Yes. There the question is raised. What is real? And the answer has been given. Something which is real is eternal and changeless. That is the answer. So you may say, that does not seem to be a very good definition of reality, because I used to be a little child and I've changed physically and mentally. But am I not real? I am real. And I will not live eternally. That is also true. Still I am real. That's one will argue. Then the philosopher will say to such a person, if you see a creature which changes its form every 5 seconds, at first it is like a kitten, then it is like a puppy, then it is like a rabbit. Every 5 seconds it keeps on changing its form. Then you wonder, what is this really? What is this creature really? You don't know what it really is because it is changing. Had it not changed at all, remained a kitten all the time through eternity, then you could not say it was not real. But everything in this world is temporary. Therefore, this world is not real. That's how this school of thought will try to teach. And now let me refer to that great epic, the Mahabharata. There's a dialogue between a prince whose name was Yudhishthira, him and another celestial being called a Yaksha. During that question and answer period, this question was asked, what is most wonderful? That question that Yaksha asked. Yudhishthira gave a correct reply. He said, ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti yama mandiram shesha amritatvam icchanti kimascharjyam ataparam. That means every day the living beings are dying. Still those who remain, they think that they will make their bodies immortal. What can be more surprising than that? This is a great wonder. You say, well, the ancient Hindus, they're different. Different? No. As a student of chemistry, how chemistry developed gradually, that I read when so many years ago when I was a student. Because people wanted to find ambrosia of life. That means something by drinking which one could make one's body immortal. And the search for ambrosia gradually developed chemistry. That's what I read many years ago. Yudhishthira was also saying something similar. It is a wonder. So that's why you see, not all people can experience divinity. They love their bodies. There is one barrier in our mind. It is called abhinivesha. That is, we have a tendency to cling to our life. There is a story associated with it. One lady, she was quite strong. She would make a living by collecting branches which would drop from trees in a forest and bringing them home and selling to people. That's how she used to make a living. One day there was a storm, and so many branches were there in the forest. They had been broken down by the strong wind. So she went to the forest and she was very happy. She collected many of them and made a large bundle. She would carry ropes and then with that make a very large bundle, thinking, oh, if I sell them, then I'll get so much more money. Let me suppose that was a sandalwood forest. So that wood is very expensive. So she thought that she would be very happy. But well, she tried to leave that huge bundle which she had made. She couldn't do that. And she was very upset. Then she called the king of death, who is called Yama. Yama, I don't want to live in this world. Please take me away. And then Yama suddenly appeared. He said, you asked me to come and take you away. Come with me. Then the lady says, oh no, really. I called you not to go with you, but can you help me to lift this bundle of wood and put that on my shoulders? That's why I called you. This is called clinging to life, or abhinivesha. We all have that abhinivesha. We have other obstacles also in our mind. The first obstacle is that we do not know that we are divine. This is called avidya. And the second obstacle is that we think that we exist, that means we believe in our ego. And then another obstacle is attachment to the objects of pleasure. That is also an obstacle. And then there is dvesha, that means strong dislike or aversion to objects which one doesn't like. So all these ideas these are all mentioned in our philosophy. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha and abhinivesha. These are considered obstacles. And there is a great sage named Patanjali. He wrote a book about human mind and how to go beyond suffering and all these things he wrote. So there he mentioned these. These are 5 obstacles. We have to get rid of them. Clinging to life. Clinging to life. All these things happen because there is the ego. If the ego is gone, nothing will remain. The world will disappear, everything, this so-called world. And when everything disappears, then there will be a state which is anandam, beyond joy and beyond sorrow, beyond all pairs of opposites, beyond time, space and causation. It is beyond time, so it is eternity. And beyond space, so it is infinity. Beyond causation, so there is no action is possible. So, anandam or peace, that's what we really are. Let us remember it. This is all the sages they are teaching us. All right? So let us all achieve it. Thank you so much for listening. I should say good night now.